Same one. Parang ko na si your
Julie, makinig ka muna sa akin.
Hindi na, Alex. Simula ngayon, hindi na ako maniniwala sa lahat ng sasabihin mo. Sinungaling ka!
Julie! Ako.
your Ron.
Okay, here we are again. Yeah, earlier we discussed on the simple living that public officials and employees and their families shall lead modest lives appropriate to their positions and income. They shall not indulge in huh? extravagant or ostentatious display of wealth in any form. See? So next, Mike. Now, duties of public officials and employees. So, ito, when you'll be working in office, you should act promptly on letters and requests. Actually, no, in this law, you have there all public officials and employees shall within 15 days, 15 working days from receipt thereof, respond to the letters, telegrams, or other means of communication sent by the public. The reply must contain the action taken on the request. Actually, there's also no a succeeding law on this, the EOB, the ease on doing business. The ease on doing business that we should respond, for simple transaction. I think that is three, 3 hours, 3 minutes, and then for one we have also 7, and we have also 20 days for those transactions which really needs longer time, no, for us to respond. And for this, all public officials and employees shall within 15 days. In our case, no, in our case, as much as possible, ang ibig sabihin din, we should act promptly. Meaning, when there will be requests, when will be letters, this request and letter should be responded immediately. Hindi na patagalin yan. So in our office, no, kasi I used to sign, no, or approve, let us say, a request from school head. So pinakamatagal sa akin dyan is actually 3 days. If possible, if that would be received by the record section, yung sa record section, ma-receive yan, kailangan makakarating yan sa office ko in that day. If possible, in that day. Actually, this is also, no, a reminder, especially those who will be assigned in the record section. Our superintendent had observed that based on our process, the transaction there in a day will be disseminated to the different offices at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which shouldn't be the case. If possible, after receiving, no, the request or letters from the other agencies or other personalities, so that should be distributed siguro an hour after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Kasi yung dyan, matatagal pa yan. And you'll be missing also other transaction which needs immediate response. Kaya as much as possible, pag nadyan na sa atin yung documents, it should be forwarded to different offices. Kasi we don't want to delay no public service. And this is what actually one this provision implies, that although it sets a day, but it doesn't mean that you will not perform that one below to the range, below to the expected days of compliance. So meaning the earliest possible time any request should be responded, by the office. So yun ang practice natin dito as government, in the government office. We should not do, transaction. Kasi sometimes, we are bombarded, with personal problems or yung mga personal natin appointments, and forgetting that there are transactions in the office that needs to be responded. Halimbawa, sa case natin, that we have this AWA, alternative work arrangement. Ito na, I will integrate this one, no? And then, some of us, di ba, will be reporting 3 days. Yung iba namang members sa office, hindi na nakikialam sa ibang trabaho. Remember, we are working in one office. If one is absent or one not be around, someone will take over his place. Because we cannot delay. Again, public transaction. Government transaction, we cannot delay. Ang problema dyan, pag wala yung tao sa office, wala na ring succession of work. Which should not be the case. So, in the office, there must be succession, of work. That's why I am also reminding others not to have this succession matrix, especially our QMS head, to have the succession matrix. The transaction not be delayed. Hindi ma-stop dyan by reason of the absence of the employee. Yun ang dyan, isa sa mga implications dito in this provision. That a transaction shall not be delayed. That a transaction should not be stopped by reason, of the absence of the employee in charge. So, dapat hindi na di-delay yan. The operation must go on even the absence of the employee. Yun ang point dito. We should act promptly on the letters and requests. Next, sir. Submit annual performance reports. Especially, for teachers, will be assigned by the school heads to submit reports at the end of the year, or administrative officer. Para talaga sa inyo ito, no? Kasi you'll be assigned by the district head, siguro quadrant head, or the school head to submit reports. Now, this month is November. Next month will be December, and December is the ending month of the year. So meaning within 45 days, working days now from the end of the year, you should render performance report of the agency or office or corporation concerned. Such report shall be open and available to the public within regular office hours. So remind your school head, sir, after the end of the school year, we should render your report, no, our accomplishment report. Report, no, what have we done of the year. So we soon will be requiring you to submit that one within 45 days after the end of the year. So also with the division office, I'll be leading, no, the submission of accomplishment report region. So within 45 days, shall have our accomplishment report, annual performance report. Okay, next. Process documents and papers expeditiously. Kailangan mabilis, no? Yun pa rin, no? It has a connection, no, with the promptness of letters and requests. Uh, all official papers and documents must be processed and completed. Ito, internal ito, di ba, na process. When completed within a reasonable time from the preparation thereof, as well, and must contain as far as practicable, not more than 3 signatories therein. In the absence of duly authorized signatories, the official next in rank. See, there's already no succession of work here, or even officer or officer in charge shall sign for in their behalf. Dito pa lang, you can see na the process within the organization should not be stopped kasi proseso yan eh. Kadalasan nga, hindi lang yan process, pati din what are functions, no, in relation to this process. For example, those who will be assigned in the record section, no, personnel section, yun na lang. Kasi doon talaga yung many challenges, no, of the work. Preparation of this, di ba? Preparation, alam niyo na kung sino yung mga, no, kung sino yung mga employees. You already know who are those employees in the division. Then, alam din, di ba, na may increase. Kasi tayo talaga kung na nakakaalam yung nasa personnel. And therefore, this should be prepared on time. And remember, no, that our salary will be given every 22nd of the month. Make it sure, kasi ikaw yung una sa process, make it sure that you have already prepared those documents ahead of time that the other processes, no, won't be affected. Kasi kadalasan, pag matagal dito sa una, tatagalan din yung succeeding processes. Which our service, no, to our clientels will also be delayed. So, may instances na yung salary marireceive na natin the 23rd, 24th. For example, na nga, yung World Teachers Day supposedly should be given in October 1, October 5. Kailan na na-receive? Kasi there was no preparation, no, ahead of time on the records. Or kung may conflict with the decision sa region, hindi nire-resolve yung conflict the earliest possible time for us to give our service, to provide our service on time or before the set compliance. So yun, titignan talaga natin yan. Another, yung personnel pa rin, yung step increment. We will know that after 3 years, diba? Those who will be assigned, no, in the personnel section, every after 3 years, mag-step, there will be a one step, no, increase of step increment of every employee. Anong nangyari? Wala. Then tapos, alam din natin yan that we will be asking we will be providing differential, what else? Increase of salary. So, pag may dating yung 3 years, notice of salary increase, no see, then salary adjustment, no sa, and then preparation of the respective payroll. So meaning, yung process of documents natin dito, paper, should be done expeditiously. Not only expeditiously, para sa akin, it should be done with common sense and with urgency. So kailangan may urge talaga kayo. Urge. Di ba? In the preparation of documents. Kaya naalala ko tuloy si Sir Pete when he was then the superintendent of of Zamboanga del Norte, I always no see this one sense of urgency. Kasi our clientels cannot wait. Government service cannot wait. Di ba? Wag nang ano. Kasi you are entering the government service and you're expected to do such thing. And the earlier part no of this webinar, I've been telling you na mahirap talagang magiging government servant. You are putting yourself being a government servant, then you should perform what the public has expected for a government servant to perform. So, di ba? So, ganun lang yan. Kami nga, minsan, when we stay in the office, we stay for 24 hours and we even signing the documents until 11 o'clock no in the evening. Wake up at 3 o'clock. So, ganun din naman. But we never said no na or complain all of this because this is the job no that the public has expected us to perform. And each one of us has his own role no in the organization. That's why we should perform this role in the organization as the public are expecting for us to perform all this transaction expeditiously and with sense of urgency. Next, Mike. Act immediately on the public's personal transactions. So, grabe, no? So, kailangan. Ako, no? Kasi isa rin sa tinitingnan natin when you are serving the public, especially if you are an employee of Zamboanga City Division. Sabi nga, service with a smile. Na, service with a smile. You will act immediately in the public's personal transaction with a smile. Di ba? So, kahit will be acting immediately in public, we still be smiling before our clients. All public officials and employees must attend to anyone who wants to avail himself of the services of their offices and must at all times act promptly. Dito na naman. And expeditiously. Diyan na naman. Pero, lagyan natin with a smile. Diba? And you should be, source of positive vibes our clientele. Kasi nahirapan yan. They travel from Vitali. Kasi sinabi kong Vitali. Kasi once, I usually talk with those people who are sitting, yung nasa gilid ng personnel section sa labas. Kasi when I arrived last September 1, being your assistant school division superintendent, yan talaga yung una kong napansin when I was in the division office. Hindi ba kayo nakukonsensya dyan? Nainitan yung mga what have you planned na in order for these clienteles will not be experiencing that way, that situation? Come think of it. How should we improve our services na hindi mahirapan yung mga, and remember promptly and expeditiously. Expeditiously. Oh. Tapos, naghintay sila for how many hours? Before we can provide them better service? Ganun ba talaga yun? Kasi sir, ganito, maraming reason. If we keep on providing reason and not thinking on solution, for these issues and for this situation of our clientele, better get out of the service. You're not meant for this to serve our general public. See? Kasi we keep on reasoning na ganito, wala na tayong magagawa. Wala tayong magagawa. We were expecting to perform to serve the public. Wala tayong magagawa. Think of something that would improve our service to the public. We are expected that again, the public is expecting us to perform in that manner. And make documents accessible to the public. All public documents must be made accessible to and readily available for inspection by and public within reasonable working hours. Those transactions that are allowable. But there are also documents, public documents kasi pinag-usapan dito. So, ang barrier dito is only the Data Privacy Act, di ba? Kasi you cannot expose also, although nasa public documents, if this has an implication of exposing private data or mga private information, that should not be exposed. We need to have consent of the person, no? It's actually one affected with the transaction. So, pero public documents are meant not to be accessible and readily available for inspection by the public within reasonable working hours. Next, Mike. Aba pala dito, Mike. Mike. Oh, prohibited acts. Dito na naman tayo. Duswa, earlier, di ba? Earlier, we were taught on the how should one, no? Your duties being public official. Pag sinabing prohibited, mandatory talaga. Basta prohibited, wag talagang gagawin yan. Mandatory yan. Kasi kung positive pa lang ito, shall. Pero ito, do not do this one. Financial and material interest. Public officials and employees shall not directly or indirectly have any financial or material interest in any transaction requiring the approval of their office. For example, yung principal. Yung principal, o ako, diba? Ako, being the back chairman. O yung principal, being the accountable officer of the school. Tapos, nagpo-purchase siya ng supplies, di ba? Pero nagpo-purchase siya sa supplies na kanya yung tindahan, di ba? Hirap doon, no, di ba? Public officials shall not directly or indirectly have any financial or material in any transaction requiring the approval of their office. Yun ang nangyari dyan. So, kasi ito, mandatory. Once you violated this one, you will be, may kaso ka administratively. So, based on, basahin nyo ito ha, DepEd Order number 49, Series 2006. Yan. Basahin nyo yan. That is administrative procedure. Yan pa rin ang prevailing administrative procedure. Kaya sabi ko nga, wag talaga pag it requires your approval, then tapos, ang implication dyan is you'll be gaining something from this approval, better not to pursue it. Because once this will be filed before or administratively for teaching position, regional office. Teaching or teaching related position, regional office. For non-teaching, yung AO2, saan ipa-file? Ano lang, division office. The disciplining authority for non-teaching position is actually the school's division superintendent. While the disciplining authority for teacher, those who are teaching related position, mga supervisor, principals, kita. Maliban sa amin, kasi sa amin, Secretary of Education, because I am appointed by the President of the Philippines. So, Secretary, kasi alter ego ng President. Yung teaching position, doon sa regional office. Now, malalaman nyo doon kung ano yung process. No? Halimbawa, if it is a public knowledge, at ako, yung nagiging chairman, ng formal investigating committee, pasensyahan nyo lang po kasi I will do my task. And you can even ask, who am I when I was still assigned in the other division? I really hate this, those public officials and employees who always take advantage on the money of the government for respective position. Talagang galit ako dyan. Galit talaga kami dyan. And even, makikita nyo yan sa mga policies. Kasi hindi talaga yan. You are, diba? You are actually disgrading yourself and also binaviolate nyo yung law na yung implication, the one would be affected is the government itself. See? Financial or material interest in any transaction requiring the approval of their office. Next. Kaya, yung mga admin, officer 2. Now, if you think that that transaction, sa principal ninyo na ma-assign kayo, is against the law, na hindi tama, better not to pursue it. Okay? Huwag ka na lang mag-sign dyan because you will be accomplished, you will be involved, no, in the administrative case. Be sure that you'll be working with honesty and integrity in your service. Outside employment and other uh, activities related thereto, public officials, employees during their incumbency um, shall not ito, own, control, manage, or accept employment as officer, employee. This is in the case of corporation, government corporation, yung mga ganon. Consultant, counsel, broker, agent, trustee, or nominee in any private enterprise regulated, supervised, or licensed by their office unless expressly allowed by law. But there are also work that are allowed by law. So, pwede yon. Engage in the private practice of their profession unless authorized by constitution or law, provided such practice will not conflict or tend to conflict with their official functions. Dito pwede mangyayari ito sa teaching position. Especially sa ating teachers dito na mga magagaling talaga, no? Mga matatalino talaga. Because they are also invited to be part-time teachers, no, of the universities or colleges, mga ganon, as teacher. So remember, okay lang yon na magtrabaho kayo, but be sure, no, that your work will not be affected. So, private pala ito practice. Kasi yung ito, recommend any person position in private role which has a regular or pending official transaction with their office. Provided such practice will not conflict or tend to conflict with their official functions. Tama. Okay, recommend any person to any position in a private enterprise which has a regular or pending official transaction with their office. These are conflict, no, of interest, and this should not be done. Next, right? Disclosure and misuse of confidential information, officials and use or divulge confidential or classified information officially known to them by reason of their office and not made available to the public either to further their private interest or give undue advantage to anyone or to prejudice the public interest. Remember that there are transactions now in the office which are strictly confidential, which need not to divulge, because by divulging such information, it will create turmoil now in the public or it can degrade someone. So remember, it's still our responsibility to be full in actions with our words and never to divulge any confidential, no, or classified information. Because sometimes, diba, you will be involved, no, in certain work in which there is strict confidentiality. The information within it should be kept. Pero, pag yung transaction ninyo against the law, siguro, hindi naman yung tama. Sabihin ni principal sa admin, oh, this is strictly confidential, ha? Bumili tayo ng receipt, ha? Sa paaralan. Tapos, yun ang ginamit natin sa liquidation. Oh, may pera. So, this is strictly confidential. Ganun ba yun? So, it should be the case. We mean about the transaction of the government, not of person. line. Okay, next. Lapit na tayo matapos. Extend your patience. Patience is a virtue. So yun ang ano natin ha. Kasi others want to be promoted immediately. Gusto natin matapos agad. Di ba? May kasabihan din, especially to our personal na development, professional personal development, the patience is a virtue. Pag hindi dumating, ano naman yung principle natin? More patience is another virtue. Yun. Pag hindi pa rin dumating, more and more and more patience is another virtue. So, yun. Solicitation or acceptance of gifts. Yan. Public officials and employees shall not solicit or directly or indirectly any gift, gratuity, favor, entertainment, loan, or anything of monetary value from any person in the course of their official duties or in connection with any operation being regulated by or any transaction with which may be affected by the functions of their office. Ito na sinabi ko kanina. Ito na. And remember, careful. Careful yung nasa mga front lines, especially yung O2. May mga bagay na yung mga ano natin na nagbibigay para lang ma-fast track yung transaction. You are fully prohibited to do such act. Unsolicitation or acceptance of gifts. So that was defined earlier, di ba? And I initially explained about this. So uh, a case can be filed against you. Okay? Administrative case. And dito, mga mabibigat ito. Kasi, dismissal talaga. First offense, dismissal yan. Sa administrative case. So, yan. Next, Mike. Self-explanatory naman to. Mike, next. Statements and disclosure, right? Last na yata ito, no? Public officials and employees have an obligation to accompany declarations under oath of, and the public has the right to know liabilities, net worth. Next, Mike, wag mo na dyan. And financial and business interests, including those of their spouses and of unmarried children under 18 years of age living in their households. Wala talagang sinasanto ito sa government. Kahit nga, if you could still remember the case of Chief Justice Sereno, di ba? Even the Chief Justice, no, herself, were not spared from this law, this provision. How much more na sa mga sa atin, di ba? That's why after year, you should sa inyo, di ba kayo ng statement of assets and liabilities after year? So you should submit, no? And then kailangan nyo lahat kung anong meron kayo when you entered into government service and every after year. So yung statement of assets and liabilities. More of it will be discussed now later, and in a way the forms are self-explanatory. So please file your statement of assets and liabilities. I know that there are challenges now that we are facing in our service. But remember, we should be guided, always be guided by our service slogan. Next, Mike. This is our service slogan. No hay cosa imposible, kri hunto-hunto pwede. Nothing is impossible. Believe. Together, we can. Dugtong-dugtong, tulong, sama-sama nating isulong edukalidad. Thank you and may God bless us all.
We would like to apologize for the um, glitch we had. So we move on to our speaker. We have the topic on the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, DO 42 series of 2017. We have with us Dr. Mildred Diday, Chief of the Curriculum and Implementation Division. Huh?
Hello. Mike, okay, are you Mike? Mike, am I okay?
Yes po, ma'am. Yes, you're in.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Blessed morning, everyone. So, though we are pandemic, we are glad that we are still doing things that should be done. So, welcome to this topic. Mike, can you show the slide, Mike? Michael, next slide na, Mike. We can start off with my topic will be on the order number 42, series 2017. Uh, so I will give you information of national adoption and implementation of the Philippine Professional Standards for Teacher, in short, PPST. So this is the order which stipulates the national adoption and implementation of the PPST. This was signed. Next slide, Mike. This was signed by the secretary. Mike, next slide. Okay, this was signed by Secretary Liling Briones into policy, uh, which was signed last August 11. So thus, after it was signed, it was for adoption and implemented. Okay, so as I continue from this order, what's the purpose of the PPST? Philippine Professional Standard for Teachers, in short PPST. This shall be used as for all learning and development programs for teachers to ensure that they are properly equipped to effectively implement the K to 12 program. So once you get in as teacher in the DepEd, learning and development programs will be given to teachers, and what will be the basis? It will be the PPST, so that you'll be able to implement effectively the program, the K to 12 program. This PPST can also be used for the selection and promotion of teachers. So selection and hiring starts with T1, and then maybe after 3 years, you're doing good, then you can be promoted, teacher 2, teacher 3, to master teacher, to head teachers, and then maybe you want to switch to being a school head. But this PST is only for teachers. Okay, and also all performance appraisals for teachers shall be based on these set of standards. So we should remember, ano ba tong PPST? These are sets of standards for teachers. This will serve as, the PPST should serve as a guide, a companion guide for all teachers to be able to improve one's skills and abilities to be able to deliver teaching. That's very important. As a teacher, we should always have that purpose of delivering quality teaching. And through the PPST, uh, teachers' capabilities will be enhanced. Further, DO 42 also clearly states that the PPST sets clear expectations of teachers along well-defined career stages of professional development from beginning to distinct practice. In the PPS, there are 4 career stages. It starts off with beginning. If you're a neophyte, you're a novice, you're new to teaching, so you start off as a beginning teacher. Then maybe after 2 or 3 years, following the criteria, you can move to being a proficient teacher. From proficient, you can highly proficient, then final highest, which is the distinguished. So PPST engages teachers to embrace ongoing professional learning for professional development to enhance their own teaching. So lifelong learning. It does not mean that you are already in, then with learning. So learning continues, not only for your own benefit, but most especially for the benefit of our learners. Hindi klaro? Hmm, stop na na. Nalanway pa. May pa yung kapal.
See,
A moment, please. Can I continue, Mike?
Yes, ma'am. Please continue, ma'am.
Previous slide, Mike. I'm not done with the. Okay, so uh, as I mentioned, engages teachers to embrace ongoing learning for their own professional development to enhance their own teaching. So it's very important that we enhance our own teaching by continuing professional learning and professional development. We should not stop learning. We should not stop improving the way we deliver the teaching learning process in the classroom. This also provides a framework of uniform measures to assess teacher performance. Yearly, teachers are being assessed. So there's a uniform structure for all public school teachers. Also, this provides a basis for building public confidence in and support for the work of teachers. Okay, next, Mike. So what is this PPST? Next slide, Mike. Okay. This one is the cover of the booklet. This booklet consists of at least 20 pages. So if you're able to grab a copy on this PPST, it's downloadable. This will be your guide, your companion in becoming, if not the best, a better teacher for our learners. So what is the PPST? It's a public statement of professional accountability. It's a public statement. So when it's public, it's open, especially to all teachers. And we are all professional teachers. And it has 4 career stages. As I mentioned earlier, you start off with beginning stage, then you move maybe 2 to 3 years after, you become proficient, then maybe next 3 years you become high proficient, then become a distinguished teacher. So maybe if you become highly proficient, you will be able to get the item of master teacher, master teacher 1, then move to master teacher 3 and 4. And this PPST has 7 domains, 37 scenes, and 37 indicators for each career stage. These are things that you have really to remember. Merong domains, there are domains. The bigger one is the domains. Then we have the strands, and then we have indicators. Okay, next, Mike. Now, why was he developed? What's the role in the development of Philippine professional standards? Before PPM, we have what we call the standard was known as the NCB, National Competency Based Standards for teachers. So why PPST? Next, Mike. Next, Mike. Okay. Before 2013, our curriculum was the basic education curriculum, which has only 10 years. So 6 years in the elementary, 4 years in 2013, RA 10533 or the K to 12 reform was signed into law. This RA 10533 is an act enhancing the Philippine basic education by strengthening its curriculum, and what was increased? The number of years for basic education. Kaya it's called K to 12. Actually, it's garden and it's compulsory. Before K to 12, kinder was not compulsory, but with RA 10533, kinder became compulsory, and then we have the addition of the senior high school. Work on teacher standards was approved in 2012 by the Joint Advisory Board, chaired by our Secretary, Brother Armin Luisto. So to revisit the NCBTS. Okay, so in other words, the PPST was developed after major consultations. There were several consultations with key stakeholder and key officials of the DepEd. Teachers were also consulted. So it went to a lot of work. was published. Okay, next Mike. And the PPST is built on the CBTS, the National Competency-Based Teacher Standard. That was before, so now it's the PPST. And internationally, teacher quality is articulated in the mention. The PPST is a public statement of professional ability. And in the PPST, you can see explicit what teachers should know, be value in the profession, and it is sufficiently generic to represent practice across the area. So if you'll be able to browse the indicators, the strands, the domains. It's universal to all grade levels and the different subject areas. So the Philippine Professional Standard for Teachers is the new, next slide, Mike. Our new framework for teacher quality and teacher development is now the PPST. So we said goodbye to NCBTS and we welcome the PPST. Okay. With you now, because this started in the year 2017. So what are the important features of the PPST? So among others, the PPST gives a focus on mother tongue to facilitate K3. Mother tongue is being used to facilitate teaching and learning. Learners in difficult circumstances, strategies for promoting literacy and numeracy. It also captures the past use of ICT and classroom communication strategies. Okay, next slide, Mike. Okay, so this is an example page in the booklet of the PPST. On top, you will have the domain. You will have the domain. The domain is the broad conceptual sphere. In the domain, for example, this is domain 1, which is knowledge of pedagogy. As I mentioned, there are 7 domains. Okay, there are 7 domains, and there are 37 strands, and there are 37 indicators. So if you look at the page, it's an example of a page of the PPST. So you will have on top the domain, what is it about? And under the domain, you have the strands. So like this domain 1, it has 7 strands. So as you can see here, strands, and then you have the career stages. We have the career stages, the beginning teachers, the proficient teachers, the highly proficient teachers, and the distinguished teachers. For every careers, we call that the career stages. For every career stage, there are indicators which are very specific. So as a beginning teacher or a new teacher in depth ed, you would still fall maybe under beginning teachers. So your focus will be all indicators under beginning. Domain is on content, knowledge, and pedagogy. Example of Strand. Strand 1.1, content, knowledge, and its application within and across curriculum areas. Then what will be the observable and concrete